But what I think is actually happening is that it's requiring the skills and expertise of technical writers more than ever to make sure that it's accurate.
How do you currently see AI fitting into your day-to-day work as a technical writer?
So I think it's a massive opportunity. Very early on, one of the first things we did was use AI to apply our style guide rules. And so we built a rule set, and then more recently, we've sort of accelerated in how we're using AI and exploring what AI can do. I don't know if you've heard of MCP servers, Model Context Protocol servers.
How do you make sure that the AI is integrated well with your existing tools?
Really what we look for is, how flexible the tooling is. Like, can it do more than one thing? A great example of this.
Welcome to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hi, welcome everyone to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. With me today, we've got Jason Christie, Senior Technical Writer Lead at Shopify. Hi, Jason. How are you doing?
Hello, it's nice to see you again. I'm doing very well. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming again and helping us with your thoughts on the latest technology and trends. So, just to recap, how did you get into this career and how is it going so far for you?
I hope it's going well. Sure feels like it is. I got into the career in a way that seems typical from all the interviews I've done with technical writers over the years, which is I didn't start out thinking I would be a technical writer. I started as an academic, but I realized that wasn't necessarily for me, and I started looking around. I answered an ad and started working as a contractor as a technical writer, and found that there was plenty of room to grow and plenty of opportunity there. So it sort of made me aware that there was a full career and community, and that there was a craft out there that I could apply all of the skills I had developed in the academy and bring them to bear on the work as a technical writer.
Right. Super. Thank you so much. And I'm going to straight away start with AI because we've spoken quite a lot about your other parts in the previous conversation. So I know everybody is now trying to see how to use AI and how to make it more effective and productive, right? So now, from your perspective, how do you currently see AI fitting into your day-to-day work as a technical writer?
Yeah, AI, it's a great question. I think we could fill several podcasts with this topic. So I think it's no secret at this point that Shopify is very excited about AI, and the company is encouraging every single person in management and in IC roles to use AI reflexively in their day-to-day work. And so on the technical writing team, we very quickly realized, that we had to innovate and use AI to figure out how to do our job differently. So what we realized was getting a step beyond just that AI can rewrite documentation or AI can provide drafts of things. We started to dig really deep into the tooling and look for ways that we could have AI help us scale and increase our capacity and do more. And we're seeing lots and lots of interesting results there. So I think it's a massive opportunity. Very early on, one of the first things we did was use AI to apply our style guide rules. And so we built a rule set and a resource that AI could use. And we integrated that we were using VS Code at the time. And so it became sort of a linter for us in that sense, providing a little bit more than just a squiggly underline to say that word is wrong or there's a violation.
Yeah.
So it became sort of like an always-on editor in your pocket who could help you to rephrase things, to rewrite things, but also to apply the style guide rules.
Yeah.
And the style guide has always been a tricky one. It's something that when people start, they read it and they diligently follow it and they refer back to it. But then 3-4 years into a role, it's bookmarked, but they never go and look. So it becomes sort of natural.
Yeah.
And for the editing team, it becomes a game of sort of, you always do this. You always, underline The if-then construction, for example, is one I struggled with a lot. And so this reduces the burden on the editorial team to catch all those tiny minor infractions that slip in over time as you start to forget what's in the style guide and not refer to it regularly. So it was very powerful for that. And then we could kind of repurpose our editors to help new team members or technical writers early in their career in more one-on-one hands-on ways. And so less time catching the minutia and more time using their skills and expertise in more productive ways, which was really great. And then more recently, we've sort of accelerated in how we're using AI and exploring what AI can do. I don't know if you've heard of MCP servers, Model Context Protocol servers.
No.
Yeah, they're basically ways that you can create tooling that can be called into AI applications or assistants. And so you could imagine the one that we use a lot is there's a data portal multi-context, did I get this wrong? MCP server.
Okay.
And so what this does is it allows you to, in natural language, run queries against your data and ask questions about your data. And so you could see immediately how that would be super powerful. You don't have to go into BigQuery. You don't have to go into Looker Studio. You don't have to know SQL.
Yeah.
You can just ask. And so that's been really kind of powerful and eye-opening. And the applications obviously are, you can connect to your customer support data and say, give me the trending topics. And then you can sort of query your content set and say, do we have content that covers these topics? And, AI can do a kind of analysis of that and provide some results. But because it's AI, you have to check it. You can't just
human in the loop. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you can't necessarily confidently trust the data immediately. You have to verify, and then you have to, look at the analysis of the content and kind of use your own insight and then intervene in ways that make sense to you. You can't just sort of copy and paste or assume that the AI will run it and update the content effectively. So, but what it does do is it means like you don't have to go to a data scientist and say, I need to know, can you give me the top 10 topics that are trending in support?
Yeah.
The poor data scientists, are getting questions like that from hundreds of people. And so with the tooling like this, you're reducing that burden on them and they can focus on more high priority and urgent and probably more interesting matters they need to figure out. And so we're also seeing some interesting success integrating with our communications tool. We use Slack.
Okay.
What we're hearing from people is that there's like a fatigue from being remote and being in Slack, constantly monitoring the channels and conversations and trying to keep up with that flood of information to find the kernels of data that you need to do the updates that you need to do to your documentation, the decisions that get made in threads that you don't see. And so there's a lot of pressure and a lot of worry about missing something in there. By connecting AI to Slack and running it in some kind of assistant, you can just get a digest or a summary, and it can tell you the action items that are relating to content development for you. So it's pretty powerful that way. Yeah, every hour you could run it if it's a busy Slack channel, or once a day at the beginning and end of your day, you could say, summarize the discussions in this channel, identify the key players, list the decisions that were made. It's pretty powerful for that. And in this way, like, these aren't revolutionary ideas, but they do return time back to your day in small amounts that aggregate up to, I think, like a pretty big savings overall.
Yeah.
And it reduces some of the most frustrating parts of the job. So,
right.
yeah.
It's like not only in your area, but across the company, there's a lot of AI related innovations and usages happening, which is great to know. Now, you spoke about the usage of AI giving, if not lot, at least some time back to you to do a lot more productive work, right? Now, at the same time, there could be some parts or in the documentation process where AI still struggles or falls short. Have you come across any such scenarios yet?
Yes, yeah. I think it's funny because I remember when ChatGPT first kind of blew up and everyone got excited about it. It was like, oh, no one will ever have to write again. Writing is done. And we all thought, okay, like what does that mean for people who are technical writers, for example? It's that's kind of a scary proposition. But here we are, sort of many months into this now, and it's clear that it still can't write well enough, and it can't generate technical documentation accurately enough to be trusted. And so I think that's where, the technical writers who can kind of adapt and embrace the sort of AI tooling available can really
Mm-hmm.
make a difference, because maybe you're getting drafts out of your project management tool, say, leading up to a release or a version. Instead of combing through it yourself to like pick apart every little detail, you could just have, like, we have the linter run on it to apply the style guide. We have some content analysis that can be done by the AI assistant to
Mm-hmm.
help you sort through all of that information, kind of focus on what's critical for the release or version, and pull all that information out into a document that you can then use as your basis for the update you have to do.
Right.
So I think that's really interesting. But what we're definitely seeing is that, like, it doesn't generate good writing well
Mm-hmm.
enough to
Okay.
to satisfy the sort of like production ready sort of editorial process. Like, it still always needs to be cleaned up, fact checked. It's still wrong a lot of the time. And I think, that's the part where it really needs a human hand to be
Mm-hmm.
there. And I think, depending on the size of the company and the speed of development and activity, it could be a lot of content that gets generated by AI in this kind of system.
Yeah.
So I think, at the beginning we thought it might mean fewer technical writers, it might mean writing less. But what I think is actually happening is that it's requiring the skills and expertise of technical writers more than ever to make sure that it's accurate, to make sure that it's up to date. You can try to make a system as perfect as possible, but wherever it integrates with humans, it's going to be messy. It's going to be a little
Yeah.
chaotic. The fields won't be filled in correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think if you have that messy human input coming into the system, no matter how good the system is,
Yeah.
you're always going to need humans to verify and to organize and to make sure it's perfect for your customers on the other end and for your audience.
Very true. Very true. I think even if it's like that accurate, it's always have a human to verify before it goes out to consumers. Absolutely right, Jason. You also spoke about a lot of AI tools, right? Now, how do you evaluate your tools before introducing to the team? Some key factors that you consider?
Yeah, I think, again, I feel very fortunate to be at Shopify, where we have access to a lot of AI tools. And so a lot of that trial and error and testing is being done across the company,
Mm-hmm.
really. And so we can kind of cherry pick the best pieces and bring them into our team. Really what we look for is, how flexible the tooling is. Like, can
Mm-hmm.
it do more than one thing? A great example of this would be Cursor, our code editor.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so as soon as we saw the potential for what Cursor could do, and how it integrates with all of our systems and gives you that sort of AI assistant with many models available right in your code editor, it made sense to immediately switch. And that's where a lot of our experimentation is happening and innovation on our processes and workflows. So yeah, we definitely moved quickly on that one. I think the other piece, we've touched on this a few times, but it's the accuracy.
Yeah.
And so the team has been great at sort of determining and figuring out, like, which AI models or which LLMs make the most sense for which tasks.
All right.
And that's been a process of trial and error and just working with the different models to try to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, there's not any sort of strict evaluation that happens. It's more, we have access to them, we try them to see what they can do for us. And then if they're great, if they give us some kind of advantage, we'll adopt them pretty quickly and see what we can do.
Right. Again, you again touch based on that topic very briefly. How do you integrate AI with existing documentation tools? Like you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, you use AI for creating style guides, so it checks the content. So apart from that, how do you make sure that the AI is integrated well with your existing tools?
That's the tricky part. Prior to using Cursor, we had sort of one-off tools we would use, like an internal AI chat bot that we could load models into, and we could have custom prompts for it. And we could use that to, revise documentation or do some analysis. We were using Notebook LM for a little bit for that kind of analysis where you drop in a bunch of resources and it can kind of generate ideas or updates for you. And it was sort of like all over the place. So it wasn't well integrated. It was, a folder on your bookmarks bar full of tools that you could use theoretically to do work. And that was okay. And then Cursor came along, and Cursor really was the piece that neatly integrated our processes and workflows with the AI tooling that's available. So we created rule sets in Cursor that applied our style guide, for example. We still use Docs as Code workflow, so Git and GitHub, that all integrates quite neatly with Cursor, obviously. And then with the MCP servers I mentioned earlier, like they're all can be brought into the Cursor environment as well, and you can leverage them there.
All
So
right.
Cursor became like a really critical part of our tooling stack and quite powerful for that reason. And so yeah, I would say like once we got Cursor rolled out to the team, that's really when things kind of took off and the possibilities opened up for what we could do with AI more broadly.
Yeah. All right. So now moving on to the rapid fire round questions. I'm sure you must have read a lot of resources. Anything in particular that you would like to recommend?
Yeah, I still go back to The Product is Docs like all the time. It's a book by Christopher Gales and the Splunk documentation team. It's like dog-eared. I've read it. I've underlined things. It's, I might have to buy a new copy. But I find that a very valuable book, especially when, people join the team and kind of want to understand like what our ethos is and how we approach documentation.
Yeah.
That's super useful, super powerful. And then, I last time I was on here, I think I said the same thing. It's still true. Tom Johnson's blog, I'd
Yeah.
rather be writing. Yeah, like a regular reader of that. The team were sharing articles and blog posts that Tom creates all the time. So I think that's also a valuable resource for people. If anybody shows any interest in the team, we also recommend there's a technical writing course that Google put together for developers. It's been great for introducing people to the world of technical writing and getting them kind of caught up quickly. So I would
Right.
also recommend that for anybody who's interested in technical writing and hasn't maybe, secured a role or gotten access to learning about technical writing yet.
All right. Now, one word that comes to your mind when you hear documentation.
I think I really like the word fidelity. I think it's important that your documentation matches the products and services that are being offered. And so, it's a fine line, I think, between like documenting the product and marketing the product. And so, it's important to make sure that you're not documenting something that doesn't exist yet or hasn't been released or
Yeah.
is hopeful, and stay focused on, what actually exists, because that's what your audience and your customers need. Is they need to know,
Yeah.
exactly what you're offering. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why they raise those support tickets as well, right? So
yeah.
very well said. A piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
It took me a long time to figure out that conferences exist and are amazing places to meet other technical writers and to, greatly accelerate knowledge of the technical writing craft. So I would say, start going to conferences early and meeting more technical writers early.
Right. Super. Now, Jason, again, it was a pleasure connecting with you. And unlike the previous time, today we had a lot more to discuss, and you were, as usual, giving a lot of valuable insights with the long explanation. So, anything else you would like to add?
I would say if you're not already doing it, learn about AI, jump in with both feet, see what you can do. It's a very exciting time because things are still so brand new, and even though it's been a few years now, we're still figuring out the applications for AI. And it's
Yeah.
not what everyone thought. It's not that it can write or it can spell check or it can create presentations. It can do all of those things. But if you bring it into your sort of day-to-day a lot more directly, I think it can reveal like all kinds of capacity, and you can scale some of the parts of the job that you find frustrating or annoying. We're finding success with batch resolving the sort of like low-hanging fruit issues that are easy to solve. So if there's enough information in the GitHub issue, we can just grab, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 issues, and the AI assistant can process those pretty reliably. So previously that was something that it was like deprioritized because everyone is so busy and you just couldn't get to it and your backlog would grow.
Yeah.
But that's an example of where at scale you can use AI to do things that, aren't that exciting for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much. And I'm sure you've got lots to accomplish in the upcoming months, and all the very best for your project and future engagement. And once again, thank you so much for being on the show again. Appreciate your support towards the community.
It was a pleasure to be here and a big fan of Knowledge Base Ninjas and Document 360. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Jason. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.